Daniil Medvedev's rise to the top of professional tennis represents one of the most unconventional transformations in the modern era of the sport. Unlike many elite players who display early dominance, strong charisma, or immediate emotional presence, Medvedev followed a slower and less visible developmental path, shaped primarily by cognitive traits, behavioral adaptation, and competitive learning. During his early years, Medvedev was widely described as introverted and socially reserved. Coaches and peers noted a limited emotional expressiveness, minimal interaction with others, and a tendency to remain mentally isolated during training and competition. His motivation appeared to be internally driven rather than dependent on external recognition, crowd approval, or early success. From a developmental psychology perspective, this personality profile often correlates with analytical thinking, reduced emotional dependency, and a strong capacity for self-directed learning. However, it can also present challenges in environments that reward assertiveness, confidence signaling, and emotional dominance, particularly in high-exposure professional sports such as tennis. Medvedev's junior career reflected this profile. His results were consistent but not exceptional, and he did not dominate his age group. Progression through the rankings was gradual, and expectations around his future potential remained relatively low compared to more expressive or physically dominant peers. This delayed progression reduced external pressure and allowed him to develop without constant scrutiny, but it also meant fewer opportunities for early competitive reinforcement. Technically, Medvedev's playing style developed as a direct extension of his cognitive characteristics. His game is built on tactical calculation, tolerance for long rallies, and systematic disruption of opponents' patterns. Flat strokes, deep court positioning, and strategic patience reflect a preference for control over impulsive aggression. Rather than imposing dominance through power or emotional momentum, Medvedev relies on problem-solving and consistency to gradually destabilize opponents. As he transitioned to the ATP Tour, Medvedev encountered a fundamentally different competitive environment. Increased media exposure, direct interaction with crowds, and constant engagement with officials introduced new psychological stressors. His previously contained behavioral profile began to shift. On-court confrontations, verbal reactions, and visible frustration became more frequent, drawing criticism and misunderstanding from observers. From a performance psychology standpoint, these behaviors were not signs of emotional instability, but adaptive mechanisms. Increased behavioral expression served to elevate physiological arousal, prevent cognitive disengagement, and maintain competitive alertness under sustained pressure. Importantly, these expressions did not lead to tactical breakdowns or loss of strategic discipline, suggesting intentional regulation rather than impulsive reaction. Over time, Medvedev refined this behavioral expression into a controlled performance tool. Emotional displays became situational, selectively activated to reset focus, manage frustration, or increase engagement. This marked a critical stage in his transformation, as he learned to balance internal cognitive control with external behavioral signaling without compromising decision-making quality. Another defining aspect of Medvedev's evolution has been his relationship with hostile environments. Unlike players who rely on crowd support, Medvedev frequently performed in conditions of open opposition. Rather than attempting to suppress or avoid negative feedback, he developed psychological independence. Crowd hostility became a neutral or even motivating factor, reinforcing internal validation rather than undermining confidence. Performance data supports this adaptation. Medvedev's results in adverse environments improved steadily, indicating successful stress regulation and reduced emotional dependency on external approval. This psychological independence became a key component of his competitive identity. Between 2019 and 2021, Medvedev entered a clear maturation phase. Observable indicators included reduced emotional volatility, improved point selection under pressure, and a higher success rate in decisive moments. Statistical trends showed increased consistency against top-ranked opponents and improved performance in late-stage Grand Slam matches. These developments reflect experience-driven cognitive regulation rather than changes in temperament. At peak performance, Medvedev exhibits emotional detachment during critical points, high tolerance for uncertainty, and tactical flexibility. His decision-making aligns with executive control models, prioritizing efficiency and risk management over emotional expression. This contrasts with traditional championship archetypes based on charisma or intimidation, but proves equally effective. Medvedev's transformation illustrates a non-traditional pathway to elite success. He does not rely on crowd connection, emotional dominance, or early confidence signaling. Instead, his competitive identity is grounded in analytical dominance, behavioral adaptability, and psychological autonomy. This model demonstrates that elite performance can be achieved through multiple psychological configurations. From a long-term perspective, Medvedev's profile suggests strong competitive sustainability. Internal motivation, reduced emotional dependency, and adaptive behavioral strategies lower the risk of burnout and emotional fatigue. His career trajectory indicates resilience against ranking fluctuations, media criticism, and external pressure. In conclusion, Daniil Medvedev's evolution from a shy, reserved junior to a Grand Slam champion highlights the central role of psychological adaptability in modern tennis. His career confirms that personality type does not limit competitive potential, and that championship-level performance can emerge from cognitive efficiency, strategic behavior, and mental independence rather than emotional dominance. This transformation represents a modern model of elite performance, where analysis, adaptation, and psychological autonomy define long-term success at the highest level of professional tennis.